Welcome to this show in association with the Business World. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Well, we are here every day between 6 to 7, and we talk about how the economy ought to recover and how the economy can, in fact, get a lot of ideas and a lot of leads from the young business minds of this country. Well, we also talk about the stimulus package. We also talk about the global economy. The pandemic is obviously a factor in deciding what kind of a recovery is in place right now, and what kind of a recovery can be expected in the next few months or so. Obviously, want India to recover a few months. If we talk about years, the pessimist is something which will last for a very long time. Whereas some people also say that with the kind of resilience we have shown in other fields, especially what we did to China recently, our resilience, in fact, is extremely tenable at this point in time. And we'll talk about this with some of the brightest business minds in the country. Let me introduce them one by one on the show. Mr. Swaroop Nanda, founder and CEO of Pencil, is here with us. Mr. Xerxes Mullen, Managing Director of Maxim Tech Digital Ventures, is also here with us.
Hey.
Mr. Omkar Shirhati, co-founder and CEO of Karza Technology, also joins us on this very interesting and important debate. Mr. Sandeepan Mitra also joins us, co-founder and CEO of Hungerbox, is here with us. Mr. Nishchal Shetty, CEO of Wazir X. Ms. Sneha Kulwal, country manager of AATMANIRBHAR India, is also joining us on the program. And last but not the least, Dr. Anurag Batra, who's also going to be my co-anchor, and he's the editor-in-chief for Business World and Exchange for Media Group. Well, thank you everyone for being a part of this amazing show and an amazing idea that we've been continuing for a very long time. The first question I want to ask from Mr. Swaroop Nanda is, what are your thoughts of where we stand economically today? Obviously, there are a lot of gray areas that we all have to look at. The government has looked into it. It has been chided. It has been rebuked. It has been appreciated. It has also been approved. But at the same time, as a businessman, as somebody who wants profitability at the end of the year, what do you think needs to be done by us as individuals, keeping Atmanirbharta in mind, and what can be expected from the government, if anything is to be expected from them? Let's keep Kennedy's quote in mind. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
So to answer that, on the short term, how the financial package was given, we were some beneficiary of it via an extension to a CGTSME loan that we had running. So that did help us. We deal into books, and some part of our business lies with bookstores which were not allowed to function, the offline ones, especially for the 90 days. Very recently, the online stores have started off, and the offline stores have also started off in some parts of the country. But people are yet skeptical to get to the stores by, right? So to answer your question, in the immediate term, we did have some help. Stores have been reeling, so our customers are suffering. We have moved on to digital, enabling ebook reading, and that has really moved up during the lockdown period because now in the going forward period, we'll see how the offline retail comes back to the fore again. While that, we are focusing ourselves on digital reading massively.
Okay, Mr. Xerxes Mullen, if I can come to you, the same question for you. Let me decorate it a little bit. Let me compound, let me amplify that question for you as well. Obviously, the government has, in fact, taken out a macro sort of a policy to deal with the flux in business or the flux in the economy right now. There has been no specific impetus except for MSMEs on part of the government. Do you think that the position India finds itself in today, economically, we can't compare ourselves to the United States. They have handed out checks through the mail. We can't compare ourselves to the United Kingdom. They've also given direct money to the citizens of that country. We can't do that. So obviously, the contingent liability part comes in. Do you think that is something which will last, or do we need more intervention from the government going forward? Because COVID-19 is not ceasing. The vaccine is not around for another year or so. What are your thoughts on that?
I think just like what you said in the beginning, there is you think about what you can do for the government rather than asking the government to do something for you. This is exactly the thing that we are also looking at. Standing on our 2 feet is a better option rather than waiting for what the government can do for various other sectors. Or government will definitely do its best whatever it can do. I know that it's not enough right now, and especially the MSME sector also, or the grants which have been given are not the middle level. The startups, they still do not have a breathing space in terms of liquidity, in terms of easy loans. It's still not there in this segment. The top level and the bottom level have got whatever the stimulus package they could get. So, from my perspective, is that we got to help business, and business has to help each and every business. So the principle is straight. Teach a man how to fish rather than giving him a fish, and we'll have to focus towards how we could add our 2 cents in the economy by helping out our own Indian companies to cut costs, help them in giving them technological solutions, and bridge the gap in whatever whatever aspects we could, bringing in also more employment to people. And that's the outlook we have right now at this moment as an organization, and that's what we look at.
Says, has the investment in technology gone up or has it gone down? Because overall investment has gone down. Give a sense of what are companies doing to use technology to stay ahead.
Well, yes, I mean everything is definitely it's a technology world right now, and everything is going towards technology, towards robotics, towards AI. Everything is there out there, and the funding aspect definitely is there is always a surge in the technology in the tech field in terms of funding, and people are definitely funding there. You can see a lot of people on this board also are solving some kind of a problem with technology, and it's happening. So it's a space to be in. It's a space to actually bring entire evolvement across India, and that's technology is going to do that for everybody. And yes, investments have gone up. The Chinese ban, which has happened now, the digital ban, which has happened, has given us suddenly a surge of those companies who are having digital products, like just in line with TikTok, like they are from 200 million have got 60 million downloads straight off. So I mean that is also
you're saying the acceleration of digital transformation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Omkar, coming to you. You are into lending, micro lending, right, from 500 rupees to 500 crores. Now tell us, give us some numbers to tell us where the economy is. What has been in the impact in the last 3-4 months, and what is your view on the economic stimulus? How has it impacted you?
So definitely, there has been a massive impact on the lending spectrum, at least in terms of pumping in money into the economy. And that was also driven by a fact that a majority of the lending today that happens in India is manual. There's a lot of manual process that is involved in it. So if you look at immediately in April, if I'm looking at bureaus, right? So if I'm looking at Sibyl, Experian, etc., who for every loan transaction, you will have to pull a bureau report. The bureau volumes, essentially, we saw anywhere between a downturn of 80 to 85%. That was the extent of loans where the market sort of dipped. But the good part was essentially the immediate one was a stimulus in terms of the cash flow management, right, which was pushed from the government. One was with respect to as simple as pushing returns of the TDS income tax refunds were processed instantaneously. We got a huge bump because of that. The TDS deduction rate was reduced. So effectively for every lakh, you get 2,500 bucks more in hand. These are the smaller aspects which help. But on the other side, major shift came from RBI and SEBI, which promoted now better digitization of customer onboarding, right? So which involved also aspects like video KYC. A bank employee can have a video conference, verify the documents and onboard them. This brought in a massive shift, right? If you look at some of the numbers right now, both on the banking side, we are seeing a growth at rate of 25-30% month on month. It is not as it was in the month of March, but it is slowly reviving purely because there is also moratorium, right? Because most of the NBFCs also depend upon the repayments coming in from their existing loans to fund further. and borrowings from the banks are also tight right now.
It's a cycle.
So, absolutely. So,
related ecosystem.
absolutely. That's where the current focus of the banks and NBFCs will be towards collections of the existing loans that have gone under moratorium. So hence, we will see a proper revival and coming back to the same level or even beyond that level during Diwali. So by September, October is where we see now once the second phase of moratorium is completed, is where you will have that boost. But definitely the digital technologies is something that will be definitely revolutionizing for everything, right? So even some of the age-old banks, which were pretty rigid in their age-old efforts in terms of the manual processing, we are seeing shift in that. So effectively, to summarize what I would say, what demonetization did for digital payments, the way it revolutionized that, COVID has done to digital lending, where in this period itself, we would have onboarded at least 30 major banks and NBFCs who were traditionally manual processing are now adopting, and now this has become a necessity, which was earlier a good to have thing, in order to digitize the overall customer onboarding and experience and take digital decisions in order to take, and that also reduces the time, right? So the aftermath, even when things revive, what will happen because of this, the applications or the loans that were earlier processed in 1 or 2 months will be brought down to less than some of them in a few hours or even maximum to a week's time, right? So that reduces the tremendous amount of time lag which will be required to pump in money as and when things get back to normal, and it will be easier and faster disbursement.
Thank you, Omkar. Let me go to Neha. Neha, you run an affiliate marketing setup, you work with clients. How clients think and how they behave gives you a indication of where the markets and economy are. So your comments on how your clients are thinking, how your company is approaching the current scenario, and have you benefited from the economic stimulus?
Yes, in a way, we have benefited from the economic stimulus package. Being an MSME, where our publishers can have an advantage of filing TDS, having returns later on, and also talking about like Swaroop mentioned that there are a lot of offline retailers coming online with their e-com, and e-com, we have seen that boom in e-com industry, whereby we are seeing on Flipkart, Myntra, Ajio, Amazon, the pre-COVID sales, people are buying online, their behavior on digital payments are increasing. That's why that digitization is so important for all the retailers and direct to consumer brands to come online, to adapt digital behavior, create jobs and employment for that. And so this is where we can see the improvement, where a lot of brands which were never thinking of coming onto digital platform has come on digital
They
platform.
become direct to consumer.
Yeah.
They become more D2C and
Yeah, they have their own digital platform where people can go and buy. They don't have to have physically go and buy that product, but they can easily order online. And with those so many digital payments and technologies coming, people are very comfortable buying, and brands are promoting digital payments, which are increasing trust in users' behavior to buy online. So we have seen very good growth in terms of e-com sales. I know travel is one industry and hospitality is one industry which has been hit. But if you talk about online education, right? So Unacademy, Upgrad, there's so many clients who's created jobs.
Yeah, we put Unacademy on a cover 3 years back. So as a media company, we did discover in the last 10 years, I can say companies before they were discovered by anybody else. Since you mentioned Unacademy, I just wanted to make that comment. Yes, go on.
Good. So there's so many these online education platforms giving so many jobs to so many people by creating an alternative. Okay, kids can't go to school. They have an online system. There's so many apps. There were so many websites. There were so many.
And the best part is online edtech companies are actually hiring. They're making up for the loss in some sectors. All my friends who own edtech companies, depending on the size of the company, are hiring from 100 people to 2,000 people. So they are just making up for some of the losses. At this point, let me go to Sandeepan. Sandeepan, Hungerbox operates in a B2B space, and the future of work has been impacted. We do flexi work. I won't call it work from home. I call it flexi work. So tell us, what is Hungerbox doing to kind of serve the businesses from wherever they operated? And second, what's your comment on the economic stimulus?
Sure. So, as you would understand, we are a double-sided, tech platform that on one side helps institutions manage their F&B services, whether it's a corporate, a school, a college, a food court, a mall, etc. And on the other side, work with food partners. So we have about 1,500 food partners from whom we do the food sourcing, and we provide it to the institutions. Right. So in the short run, we are obviously massively affected. The last quarter we had a turnout of about 5% of our users coming in and using the platform against a Feb number, right? So in the short term, it's it's very challenging. About 20% of our food partners have already shut shop, right, and gone back to their native places, right? So it's challenge on both sides for us. However, we see this as an opportunity that will kind of grow, as most of my panelists mentioned. Digitization is now going to be the what demo did. This is going to have a 10x impact, and digitization will be the way in the future. Whether
From
it's
Hunger Box will become Cloud Hunger.
yeah. We are trying to have food downloaded on the app for you, right? But yes, digital payment, contactless food dispensing machines, these are going to be the future. And if we are able to ride through these next 6 to 9 months, which are going to be tricky, we will be a big beneficiary going ahead, right?
And on the package.
Yeah, on the package, nothing directly for us. It was more of asset-heavy MSMEs benefited, but service-heavy, MSMEs, we were expecting, things like, working capital loan moratorium to be at least 6 to 12 months, bill discounting to be available, over with a 6 to 12 months moratorium. Those things haven't come along, right? But we are obviously hopeful that things will kind of keep.
Mr. Shetty, your opening comments on how your business has been impacted with COVID and your response to the economic stimulus.
See, I think for us, the cryptocurrency industry in India, it's actually seen a massive influx of users. We've seen our growth skyrocket in the last 3 to 4 months. And I think the primary reason for that is the fact that, when your offline jobs are going away, the tendency is to, when you're sitting at home, the tendency is to look for earning opportunities online, investment opportunities online. And crypto as a new technology is something that people are coming across. They're learning about it. And then that automatically is translating to a lot of signups on our product. So I think we as an industry have seen a boost in the downloads. Like our user numbers have tripled in the last 2 to 3 months alone. Our trading volumes have grown like 400%. And I think
this is also very because of the fact that cryptocurrency till some time was banned by Supreme Court.
Right.
And they've got a new lease of life. So kind of they're coming back in a formal, clean way. And dare I say, Michelle, that all the wrong kinds of people were attracted to the cryptocurrency business for all the wrong reasons. And I hope going forward, you become more respectable and mainstream as an industry. I'm not talking about you as an individual. Cryptocurrency and crypto exchanges attracted the wrong kind of people. What have his company and all the players done to kind of get the basics right? So that's the question I was asking to Mr. Shetty. Mr. Shetty, your response?
Yeah. So, I think one of the most important things that we've done is to be out there in the open. As founders, like what I'm doing today, come out in the open and talk about the technology and the space rather than being anonymous and unknown entities out here. So I think that's the first thing. So because when you come in front of people as founders, there's a lot of trust that builds in the ecosystem. People know who you are. People know what your background is. Then they get more interested in the space, and they have some sort of, I would say, trust that is built out. So that's very important that we've done. The other is, as an industry, we are all getting together to form a set of regulations. Now, the problem is that today we don't have regulation in India, but that does not mean that we wait for the regulations to come. What we are doing as an industry is saying that let's follow a set of guidelines on our own, which involves user protection, investor relationship management. How do you secure your websites and your cryptocurrencies that you hold as exchanges? So we are coming up formulating all of these guidelines which we call as a self-regulatory organization that we want to build. And then eventually we want to push and have dialogues with the RBI and the SEBI and everyone else in our regulatory framework to get them to adopt this. So these are like just some of the things. And just to put a point on, the whole attracting bad actors, this has happened time and again when there's a new technology. I'll give you a short example of what happened to me way back in the early days of the e-commerce. Is I paid for a product online and that product never reached me, and I decided that online was a scam and I will never buy stuff online. And today in this pandemic, I'm just surviving because I'm able to order things online. So, in a short span, this is about the last 15 years of internet commerce in India. And I see the same thing happening in the crypto ecosystem. The first wave is always where you see a lot of scam and unknown stuff, unwanted things happening. But eventually, when the technology matures, you get good actors, and that's happening in the crypto ecosystem today in India. I'm seeing a lot of good actors coming in and building the right kind of products and the right kind of solutions for this ecosystem today.
True. Your company is doing well. In fact, more content is being created in terms of people are at home, they're writing books they wanted to write for a long time, they're writing that script that they wanted to. So your business has seen a kind of a positive uptake.
Yes.
Right? Tell us a bit about it.
So, Dr. Batra, what has happened is at two levels. One is the supply side level where authors have been writing more. So we've been conducting webinars for helping them to write more where they've been stuck with the writer's block, etc. So that's the supply side. And also when the retail stores have not been functioning, e-commerce essentials have not been shipping because non-essentials have not been shipping with your books. We found newer customers, like people have been watching a lot of OTT. Majority of the OTT originals, like a Netflix original, are all screen adaptations of books. So we found customers there. We've closed 4 deals with movie studios and OTT players. So that is a new line of revenue that came along. Ebooks have been doing very, very well. The surge rate is almost about 5x of what it used to be pre-COVID, right? The revenue impact has been not as high as paperback dominates about 92% of revenue and ebooks dominate about 8%. So the gap is a little higher there. But we're finding in new lines of revenue coming in for the same products. Essentially, stories have we've pivoted into B2B partially and partially digitally B2C, also enabling supply side with writers.
Sarup, I know that you're about to raise capital, but there is a real worry, and I've asked this question every panel, that a lot of startups' revenue have gone down to between 0 to 20%, depending on what sector they're in. And they've also not been able to raise money. Is that a reality or we're exaggerating? And if it's a reality, what would you say to your fellow entrepreneurs so that they can find some rules to pivot?
So when we started out, we raised $1.5 million last year. And pre-COVID, we were again wanting to start something, and all this scare happened. So we curtailed the capital time. But just 3 weeks back, we started off to raise a new line of funds. We've almost closed $850,000 out of a $1 million round that we wanted to do. Our existing investors have come in back strongly into the round. We have investors from Australia. We have investors from US. They've come in. A new micro VC fund that is getting set up in India is confirmed. So yeah, initially it was more of a scare thing, but I didn't see that actually impacting anything. And in fact, doing all those deals, sitting at home, barely with 8 Zoom calls to $1 million has not happened to us.
Okay. Sandeepan, food has been the one silver lining. Food companies, food products have done well, and primarily through delivery at home. Tell us, where is your own business headed, and where do you see the future of startups? I talked about the fact that some of them have not been able to raise money. What is your outlook on that?
No, so I'm happy we represent an industry which is recession proof, right? So no matter what happens, you have to consume food thrice a day, and that's not a choice. So food is an evergreen industry, right? And the way we are looking at it as I stated couple of very treacherous quarters for us with, lockdown, going off, coming back. I'm in Bangalore. We are headed to another set of lockdown here, right? But then we will emerge stronger, especially players who have a tech, angle to their business, like we are, a tech-led food solutioning company. People will not look at food without the technology, right? So food and tech will coexist going forward, and that's the opportunity we see going forward. And just to answer your previous question regarding fundraisers, it's tough times to raise fresh money from financial investors, right? But your best bet is your existing investors doing a bridge round, as well as strategic partnerships. It's time to collaborate rather than compete.
Sandeep, you said that the food industry is recession-proof. There was a Pew survey which was conducted in the United States just about a week ago, and it said that 70% of the restaurants in US face shutting down, 70%. And only the legacy restaurants perhaps have a long shot at surviving. So I just want to understand from you if the food industry is bereft of recession and its impacts, then how come 70% of the restaurants will shut down? And that is perhaps the same number of figure that people are also projecting in India.
Sure. Yeah, so the biggest challenge is that, between shutting down, you're better off shutting down your restaurant than operate at a 10, 15, 20% kind of throughput, right? That's more expensive, right? So a lot of restaurateurs are preferring to shut shop and kind of, wait this entire, quarter out and then restart their restaurants. But none of them is permanent, right? So we have seen these cycles, multiple times around. There are shutdowns happening. As I spoke, 20% of our own, kitchen partners have already shut shop. The kind of quarter we are, we are going to see the July, August, September quarter. If there is no businesses opening up, we'll see, a larger attrition, maybe up to 50%. But however, when business comes back, with that speed, will all these restaurateurs and everyone come back and restart their businesses, right? Yeah, it's just a cycle in our opinion.
Omkar, now if the number of transactions is a barometer for demand broadly, if the number of lending, do you see demand coming back in a big way, or do you think the demand is stagnant? Because everything in the economy is about demand. If you can bring back demand, then you can revive the economy. So give us some indication through numbers where the demand is.
Sure. So essentially, it is a dual aspect as of now. Definitely, demand is there. Historically, India has been a credit-hungry country, right? So the number of applications or the number of credit requests that you will have across the population would be higher than ever. But at the same time, there will also be an impact on the supply side, which also in terms of this. So it's not as if there is less of demand from the public, but there is also restricted supply from the financial institutions who are a bit wary and would like to wait down in terms of the moratorium piece and how recoveries happen over the period. But definitely it has started back from June is what we see. So month on month, even if I'm looking at just the purely transactions that we process month on month, we have seen an uptick of around 40-45% in the month of June as compared to May. And July till now, the first 10 days, what I've seen is about 30% bump up from what it was in June. So slowly it is heading towards back to the normal transaction finance scenario. And also it is supported by the digital initiatives.
Has the average size of the lending gone up?
It is more or less the same. Different segments you'll have with respect to your micro loans. Your instant loans have been traditionally between 5 to 10,000 rupees is what the instant loan industry has been. Whereas personal loans is something which has been impacted because of the physical layer that was there. But at the other side, if I'm looking at the transactions on the financial sector overall, we've seen a tremendous increase purely because of some of the touch points that you mentioned with respect to aspects like Unacademy and everything. So people are upskilling themselves, which has also resulted in people interested in more investments. The amount of retail accounts opened for share trading and demands have gone off the roof during this particular period. So a lot more retail participation is there on the investment front. We see, and that's something which also is reflected in the cryptocurrency aspect, because people are spending more time learning about new things and applying themselves to different areas. But definitely lending will see slightly a stable increase with also the emergency credit guarantee. That stimulus will also help. there was a bit of confusion in the middle because the definition as per RBI was different than the definition of Ministry of Finance, which they have clarified now. And the biggest boost that is coming in because of it, they have changed the parameter from the capital investment to revenue. So even heavy machinery ventures, the manufacturers who had extremely heavy capital investment but are not great in terms of the revenue that they are making, they'll also get covered. So 250 crore limit, which is given for an MSME, it's a massive number, right? So almost around 96 to 97% businesses in the country will get covered under MSME and the emergency credit guarantee scheme. So that's the extent of benefit that people will be definitely looking at.
So Anurag, we have a group of optimists today as well.
Absolutely. Coming back to you, Neha, when you talk to your clients, give us through example. You would work with clients from various sectors, as you said. You work with AdTech, and tell us how money is shifted into performance marketing, how ROI has become even more important, how, for the first time, I would like all the entrepreneurs to answer this, cost has to be less than revenue, okay? It seems very simple. It isn't that simple. We know that as entrepreneurs. So Neha, tell us, give us some sense of trends that you see in terms of go-to-market.
Yeah, so talking about different industries, like Omkar mentioned, BFSI category, where we run a lot of campaigns for Demat account, opening savings account, opening, giving loans and credits. And we've seen that brands have adapted to new form, which is digitization, and we can see that upliftment in opening Demat accounts. There's a seamless process from a lot of banks for opening a savings account or a current account online, where no physical documents or requirement is there. And we've seen clients like food tech, where we've seen where the grocery clients like Grofers and Big Baskets has seen the surge, but a food tech company like Swiggy and Zomato has gone really down in terms of people are not comfortable ordering food from offline. So there's a shift from one particular segment to different segment. We see a massive increase in people playing online rummy, poker, gaming.
Ludo. People are playing online Ludo.
Ludo, everything. There's a massive increase there. People are spending so much there, like cryptocurrency, like Nishal mentioned. So everything we've seen that from one industry, there's a surge in another industry, education, health. I mean, people buying vitamins. We have a lot of clients like 1mg, NetMeds and all. They're buying everything online. So everything which was, so how we can make rural becoming rural products to come to urban market is through digitization only. So making it important, it is very important that those rural products to come to urban India is through digitization and coming.
I want to ask you a direct question. If 100 rupees was being spent in digital marketing, how much is being spent now? Is it 200, 300, or the overall went down, but whatever is left is being only spent in digital? So give us a sense.
Yeah, so if 100 rupees was spent, I think there is a almost 2x to 3x growth, and that too, it is so much growth in a conversion model, like you said, performance model, being
impact, outcome.
So there has to be an action related to it. So there's a cost per sale, cost per lead campaign, which we do for our clients, has been seen increased, and a lot of surge there.
Thank you, NEWSX.
All right. In fact, we don't have much time, Anurag. We'll have to, in fact, start asking our panel.
Yes, I will want to ask.
What ideas do they have when it comes to reviving the economy? How long will it take, Neha? Let's start with you. How long do you think before we see the light at the end of this tunnel? A lot of people who've been on the show before, they said that the light at the end of the tunnel is perhaps an oncoming train.
Yeah. So from my point of view, we already seeing that light coming in, where brands, where a lot of products have been adapting new situations. So India is slowly getting in, cascading itself into a new abnormal, which I call it. So we already adapting, lot of brands, lot of retailers, lot of clients have been adapting this new digitization, and they are coming up to reviving economy in India. So from my point of view, digitization is very important for India to revive that economy.
Okay, Sarup,
Yeah.
how long do you think that the Indian economy is going to take to come back on its feet? There's a
To
resurgence.
pre-Feb levels.
There's a resurgence that is required. Do you think with the kind of situation we find ourselves in, I don't mean to be the prophet of doom, but there is no vaccine for COVID-19. There is no cure for it yet. The sentiment on the streets, in the markets is gone. People don't want to go out there and spend
There's
money
a
on
fear
restaurants.
factor.
There's no vacation, no travel is happening. Hotels have been turned into either mortuaries or hospitals. How do we get the sentiment back?
I think there is an adoption curve that is the new normal is an adoption curve. It is not going back to pre-COVID, but we have new industries coming out of COVID. While the other panelists were speaking and Dr. Batra was speaking, a lot of things are super cheap now, right? In just giving you a perspective, our cost per lead campaigns are at 1/3 the cost that they used to be pre-COVID, because the e-commerce sector has gone away from advertising, travel is gone away, hospitality has gone away. Several others have gone away, creating space for very low-cost customer acquisition that we are harnessing now. And lots of businesses, so essentially right now, a lot of companies that have the cash in the bank and want to accelerate, can accelerate, will begin the process of revival, and gradually businesses readapt themselves. So at the end of the tunnel is a reshaped world. It is not previous one.
Xerxes, what are your thoughts on that? Did I pronounce your name right, Xerxes?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what Neha also says, and I've also been in the gaming industry for 15 years, providing solutions to various organizations. We are powering a lot of gaming part of it. So a lot of digital activities it's on the peak right now. And at the same time, we see a lot of tech solutions coming in to bridging the gap, like instead of contactless part of solutions are being asked for and are coming across. So taking all this into consideration, it is about change. It is which is what is a new way of doing things, changing, adapting, thinking out of the box to do things in a better way, or in a way which could adapt to this particular situation we are in. And of course, I think tech is going to play a very important role over here.
Vineet, I wanted to ask Xerxes a question in the time. Xerxes, will we, during this period, see a product company from India? I've been saying for 15 years, we Indians haven't produced a single product company in any domain.
Absolutely. I'm 100% sure we will see many product companies in India, and I'm absolutely sure over there.
I'll take you up on that one of these days. Yeah. In 6 months, revisit this.
Perhaps, yeah.
Omkar, your comment
Yeah.
on where the economy will be in the next
Sure. So definitely there will be a revival. I'm hoping for a good Diwali. There will be a lot of firecrackers. But the thing is, if you're looking at the country as a whole and the entire economy, it will be another 1.5.
Okay. Thank you, Omkar. Sandeepan?
Till the time.
Yes, no, so we believe that the worst is behind us. The April, May, June quarter was the toughest quarter for all of us. And going forward, quarter on quarter, things are going to get better. This quarter is going to be surely better than the previous one. And we will emerge, back to our pre-COVID numbers by end of this year. And as I said, businesses will evolve. We as a company started being as a digital cafeteria management company, have pivoted to being a COVID safe cafeteria platform that helps manage cafeterias through enabling social distancing and all the other norms that have come out. Companies like us, we will thrive very well in years to come.
Mr.
Optimistic. All right, very optimistic. That's good.
Mr. Shetty?
Yeah, see, I think, Anurag, we come from the land which created the term jugaad. And, how long can you keep us away from the streets? Like the coronavirus wouldn't be able to keep us longer than, I think, another 6 months before we adapt and learn how to deal with it. Vaccine or no vaccine, I think all of us are going to learn how to adapt and, carry on with our lives the way it is. And industries will shift, what Sandeepan just said. every industry will learn how to deal with this, make it safer for people to interact with the offline world the way we used to do it before. So I think another 6 months max before we are going to see life back to normal in the way where we are careful and we are normal. Maybe gloves, mask, and a lot of other things become the normal. That's all I can say right now.
Okay, back to you, Vinit.
Okay, well, we have some more time. And Anurag, also, share your thoughts on the matter. You've always expressed your thoughts
We've
at
been
the
doing
end.
it for almost 2 months. I have said this before, and I'll say that, I think the July, August are going to be very tough, possibly September. It'll be another, demand will come in October, November, maybe for 2 months, but it'll be at least 6 months, could be 12 months before we go to pre-COVID levels. And there are certain sectors which I don't have to talk about, which will naturally do well, but there are a lot of sectors that are possibly going to come back to 10-20% demand. So overall, next 6 months will be tough, except maybe Diwali and maybe 30 days before it and 15 days after that. But mostly, I think it'll be another year before we can see any real revival of the economy.
But Anurag, there's also the speculation that the vaccine is not going to be ready until next year, and Mr. Nishchal Shetty pointed out that vaccine or no vaccine, we'll have to live and adapt to coronavirus. Do you think that this adaptation, this adapting towards coronavirus is something which has already been done, or do we need to adapt a little more to it?
Vinit, I'd like to be real here. The government has made really good efforts, and a lot of those efforts has saved both lives and livelihood. But there is a real fear factor. I'm sure your family tells you not to go out. I can ask each one of the panelists, their family members tell them. So there is a fear factor. I've been saying this, that companies where there are large workforces and they've been allowed to come to office, and people have chosen to work from home because there is a fear factor. Unless until the fear, economy is directly related to the amount is first jobs. There have been research after research in various economic downturns and upturns. Whenever people make more money in terms of jobs, the economy does well. So I think jobs and economy are related, and that is related to demand. So I don't see the demand coming back in full measure over the next at least 3 months. Post 3 months, we could see Diwali demand coming back. But there is a variable. If at all miracles do happen, Vinny, I believe in miracles, and not in an irrational way, but in a rational way. I think if we end up having a COVID vaccine soon, and
but Anurag, we cannot be like Donald Trump either, right? We just cannot wake up one morning and say, okay, the COVID-19 is just going to vanish one day.
He wore a mask yesterday for a change at the rally. So I think what I'm saying is that the two variables are, one is the vaccine, and second is from some natural reason, because the experts have been wrong before. They said after May it will go down, June it will end, but it hasn't. So, when they can be negatively wrong, maybe they're positively wrong. But yes, for now, social distancing, mask and sanitization, SMS as we call them, are a way of life. We have to minimize going out. And
so the SMS is back, okay? The SMS is back into prominence.
Yes, I hope so. So, but for now, any business that is contact-based businesses will suffer for a long time. Even if, take the events business, take restaurant business, take hotels, take airlines, but there is a whole new set of industries that are coming up.
Okay,
and possibly this is a time for reboot.
Yeah, on that positive, affirmative, and that special note, we're going to wind up the show. Thank you everyone for being a part of this amazing panel. We had a lot of fun.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NEWSX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.